And welcome back to Lantern Corp videos. Pre-recording it on Monday for Tuesday along with the other Who Would Win, just because I have work. And then I'll basically pre-record Wednesday's What If for that day as well, and the Who Would Win. But just because of the way work is working out for me right now. Tongue twister that. Anyway, though, this Lantern Corp video comes to us from, and I don't have the C. Linden. Either way, you asked, what Lantern Corp do I think Jabba the Hutt belongs into? And that's kind of an interesting one. So I had to think on the Lantern Corps a little bit. And one is a pretty obvious answer to me. The other, not quite as obvious, but still it's still an obvious one. Let's first cram out a couple of the ones that Jabba's just not a good qualifier for. Jabba is not, he's alive. Well, not anymore. Was killed. When he was living, because that's technically the one he qualifies for, because he's dead. It's the Black Lantern Corps. But take that out of the equation. When he was living, yeah, he was alive, but he was a gangster. He had people killed. He was not a good emissary for the light of life. But he also, even while living, wasn't a good emissary for the light of death either. So take those two guys out of the equation. What else do we have? Well, we have the Lantern Corps of Hope. Jabba didn't really instill hope in anyone. He was a gangster. He was a mob guy. He was essentially Don Corleone of, the Star Wars universe. We're going to make you an offer we can't refuse, Solo, and if you do not acquiesce to this request, we shall unfortunately have to break your legs. And then we'll chop up your Wookie, and you wake up in your head with bed with Chewbacca's head in there. So, yeah, he was a mob guy. So unfortunately, Hope's a no-go. Here's the weird thing about Compassion. I think he cared about a couple things. And because he did care, he wasn't devoid. Like the Hutts, as a whole, as a species, are gangsters. That doesn't mean they're incapable of feeling emotions or anything like that. And because of that, it's not like they're incapable of caring about certain things. Now, do we know if Jabba did care about anything? Well, we know he cared about his pet Rancor a little bit. He liked his Rancor. He probably cared about his family, because Jabba does have, the Hutts are a crime syndicate. They are a family. So he probably cared about certain members of his family. Hell, there's even been a Hutt Jedi. Very fascinating. Look that up. I just don't see Compassion, even though he's pretty he's not devoid of it, but it's so buried there that you might be able to make an argument. That wouldn't be the one I'd say is the number one, though. Then you go into things like Hope, or I already went over Hope, sorry. Love, no. That's not what drives him. At least not the love that would qualify for the Sapphire Lantern Corps. Rage, really not a guy who's driven by rage. Let's get down to it, though. What are the two big Lantern Corps I think he would belong to? Well, I think first is the most obvious, and I think the most likely one. It's Lantern Corps of Greed. He's a gangster, and as a gangster, it's about acquiring power, acquiring wealth, acquiring whatever you want, no matter what, despite the fact you don't need it. And that's the thing. Jabba was a very greedy guy. He did not care what he had to do to get to what he wanted. He just wanted things. He wanted his money. He wanted Solo. He wanted Leia. And, Jabba just wanted things, and he didn't care for it. Greed would be a perfect Lantern Corps for him. There is one other Lantern Corps, though, and I think this is the other most obvious one. Now, before we get into this one, kind of its secondary counterpart, Lantern Corps, if you will, some might think that Green could work because he amassed a criminal organization and empire. But that's not the case, as far as we know. Jabba isn't the one who created the Hutt Syndicate, the Hutt Empire, if you will. He's just the one that is running that faction of the Hutts on Tatooine. It's just like any other crime family. It's like, no. You're not the one who started this. You're just the one who's in charge at the moment. And that's basically passing down the line. That's the lineage. That has nothing to do with Will. He didn't create this. And he's also pretty much, he's not really afraid of anything. But it's just because he's got so much, extra guns. And it's like he feels like he's untouchable. And so then Leia kills him. It's pretty, it's like, ah! So, yeah, it's a bit shocking. But the one other Lantern Corps he could definitely qualify for, I think, is the Fear Lantern Corps. Because Jabba is a notorious gangster. Solo was afraid of him. Han was afraid of him. Most individuals who aren't like the Empire or a Jedi or something like your average civilian, most of them, they would be afraid of the Hutts. They would be afraid of Jabba. And when you inspire that amount of fear among the majority of your peers, it makes sense that the Lantern Corps of Fear would be a very apt Lantern Corps. Now, between the two of these, orange and yellow, which one do I think would be the most likely candidate? Honestly, I do think it's probably orange. I say that because not everyone feared Jabba. I think he could easily qualify for either of these, quite frankly. But not everyone. If you were on an equal ground in terms of power, organization, whatever, with Jabba, or higher, like the Empire, you had no reason to be afraid of Jabba. And there's still people who weren't even, in terms of power, equals to Jabba, who weren't afraid of Jabba. Luke wasn't afraid of Jabba. Leia kind of wasn't afraid of Jabba. Like, she was unsettled by Jabba. She really wasn't afraid of Jabba. Lando wasn't afraid of Jabba. Chewbacca, frankly, wasn't afraid of Jabba, let's be honest. And they're all people who are technically lower on the totem pole than he is in terms of status and power. But they weren't afraid of him. Now, that being said, most people were afraid of him, sure. At least in terms of the lower totem pole of social status. But again, he didn't scare everyone. Or enough people that it would override probably his greed. Whereas as a gangster, he was never satisfied. He just wanted more. He could be like temporarily satisfied and then just like, okay, I want more now. And that would be Jabba. That's Jabba there. So I think because of that, his greed outweighs his fear, his ability to instill fear. So by that notion, I've got to go with the Orange Lantern Corps of Avarice. But let me know what you think. Do you think he would be an Orange Lantern? Or do you think he'd be a Yellow Lantern? Mind you, if an Orange Ring tried to possess him, he'd have to duke it out with Larfleeze to get that ring. That's not happening. Like, he's not going to get the Orange Ring. But by chance, if Larfleeze is killed and then wants to go to the next qualified candidate, and Jabba just happens to be there, and a Yellow Lantern Ring's coming towards him, Orange one's going to beat him out. At least in my opinion. So, not Yellow. Yellow's a good second runner-up, or the runner-up. But Orange, I think, is the main Lantern Corps that he would be a part of. But let me know what you think. Do you think it would be the Orange Lantern Corps, or do you think it would be the Yellow one? Or is there a strong case you could make for any of the other 7 I didn't mention? Technically 8 if you want to count the Ultraviolets. I just never do. They're too recent. I don't believe it's proven if they are powered by shame. I don't think. You know what? Seeing as this was a short video, let me see. Ultraviolet Lantern. Ultraviolet Lanterns. Lantern. There we go. Ultraviolet Lantern. Now, I know a little bit of the lore of them. They're like main source of power is actually a sentient planet. Part of the invisible emotional spectrum. The heart of the corpse is a living phantom galaxy known as powered by a sentient sun called Umbrax. That is just messed up on so many levels. Now, again, it's not truly explain what powers the Ultraviolet Lantern Corps or the Ultraviolet, because it is a integrate you into the hive mind and take away. It literally takes away. It is more parasitic than even the Indigo Lanterns, because the Indigo Lanterns, you are technically part of the collective, but you still have free will to do what you want within that collective. You're not all connected in one mind. You just are all kind of evened out emotionally. So that way you can show compassion. Nah, you are a part. Not only are you stripped of your free will with the Ultraviolet Lanterns, you are completely part of one mind, like a hive mind. And unlike most Lantern Corps, which use physical rings, the Ultraviolet members are branded with ring tattoos, which is very interesting. But again, supplied by Umbrax and the ambient negative emotional energy from the user and their surroundings. So something like shame could power a Ultraviolet Lantern, but it's not the definitive thing that does. So yeah, ultimately, that's where we leave off with that. So to answer the question, in my opinion, the Ultraviolet Lanterns, Ultraviolet Lanterns, I don't think I can ever really use them effectively. But in my opinion, it's either yellow or orange. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.